Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Krauthamel. We have a Schiano Game Week presser, this time for the Norfolk State Spartans. We're now led by the one and only Michael Vic. Get into everything he said at the presser. We'll also get into some around the Big Ten talk about how some our future opponents did this past weekend. We'll also get into a couple one-off things. We want to talk about Athan's historically great start to the season, where that could kind of place him in terms of trajectory for the rest of the year. Talk about if we think maybe some records might get broken in terms of single-season passing records, and we'll get into a few more other things. But first, this podcast is presented to you once again by FanDuel. If you want to get in on some action tonight, obviously, if you're listening to this, you're a Rutgers fan, you get to see the one and only Kyle Monangai in his first NFL game of his career. I really like this bet. I bet it myself. Anytime touchdown for Kyle Monangai right now is plus 400. And if you hop on, you can get a 50% odds boost token as well. So you can get it at plus 600 for an anytime touchdown for Kyle Monangai. I really like that bet. Hop on it now because I think he's going to get a lot more carries than the sports books would expect this year, especially Roshan Johnson's beat up. He was a guy competing with Monangai for backup duties, which Kyle ended up winning. But anyway, let's get into everything Greg Schiano said at his presser today. We were thinking maybe we just play the whole thing and then we can kind of discuss it afterwards, so you guys can hear what we're discussing. It makes more sense to be inclusive, I suppose. So, Rich, do you have that available to share?
Do. So
perfect.
Give me uno segundo. And it's not working. I don't have YouTube Premium, so there's a good chance we will at one point get a commercial. So
Yeah.
Apologies for that. Let me know if this is too loud.
Hey guys, thanks for
Nope, it's good.
out. We've started our preparation on Norfolk State. Moving forward, good practice last night with the younger players, and now today's their day off. This is the first real week of school, so now they're getting into it. And the one thing about Rutgers, it's hugely competitive in the classroom as well as on the field. And the students that our players compete with in the classroom are really, really bright kids. So certainly our guys really have to work very hard to compete there. So it's a different world now that we're out of training camp mode and into the academic year. So we have to be real aware of that as coaches to make sure that our guys are getting enough rest, that they're taking care of all their business and still being ready to play on Saturday. So definitely a switching gears that way. I'll try to answer anything I can.
Do you have any more clarity on Dante Chin and his status?
Still waiting on some tests, but I'll try to do that on Saturdays with the availability report. But like I said, he'd be a big loss if we did lose him.
Looked like Tyler Needham was playing the snaps when he was out. Would he be the primary backup in the event Chin couldn't go? And who are some other guys that could maybe? Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to get into too many. He was playing anyway Saturday, so that wasn't as a result of the injury. But then when the injury occurred, then he became the full-time guy. We had a 3-man rotation going at tackles, and who else is involved? Well, there's some other guys that are in the backup roles. Mo Giwa, a transfer from LIU. And Justin Cesar, transfer from New Haven. Those two guys are in the mix, and then some of the young freshmen too. So we'll have to sort it all out, that's for sure, if he can't play.
Greg, this week you're preparing for Michael Vic, the coach, but in the past you went up against Michael Vic, the player, when you were at Miami. What was that kind of like in prepping for him?
Yeah, Michael Vic was, people say he's a generational talent. I think Michael Vic's a historical talent. The ability that he had as a player was, I've never seen anything like it. He was the fastest guy on the field when he was running the ball. and he had an arm that, still to this day has been unduplicated, in my opinion. Like, he could flick that wrist and the thing would go 50 yards with a blink. Truly, like I said, a historically great player. And I'm excited for him, right? He's got a chance to start his coaching career as the head coach at Norfolk State. And they got their first win, which was, I've watched both their games and watched this press conference and everything. Everybody's very excited. And it's my job to make sure they're not excited on Saturday at the end of the game. So that's my mission. But I am happy for Michael. He's doing a great job.
Chance now to evaluate the defense. Did you see improvement in this game, in particular in the second half, where it seemed like there was a stark contrast from the week before?
Yeah, I did see improvement. And I've told you guys all along, I haven't been shy about it. Defensively, we're going to be a work in progress. And, if we weren't, then everything I believe in isn't real, right? Because I think practice is everything. You have, cumulative repetitions of doing things right. You get incremental improvement. We haven't had enough cumulative repetitions yet. We're getting better. We as coaches are getting to know, just because Rob's worked here before doesn't mean that he hasn't changed. I haven't changed. We haven't grown. Zach's in the mix. We have some other coaches that got elevated. So literally trying to find your rhythms with each other, and as well as, the players all being new. And I've asked a lot of questions of the players, and they just don't spit the stuff out like we're used to, because they haven't been here long enough. They haven't had the cumulative repetitions to say it, to do it. But we are getting better, and we're doing everything we can to accelerate that. And I do think we'll play good. If we can stay healthy, I do think we will get to playing good defense here. We have the ability to do it. We just need everybody get clicking and doing all the little things correctly. But I do think that will happen.
You talked a lot about divvying up the carries in the run game. During the game, what's the involvement level in terms of personnel for you versus Coach Shaka and Coach Shaw?
Really, I have a lot of faith in Coach Shaw, as does Coach Shiraka. So I predominantly leave it up to Coach Shaw unless I see something. If I have a gut feeling, he and I communicate throughout the game, as do obviously Coach Shiraka and I. But I would say predominantly that's Coach Shaw's doing. We have a plan going into the game. It's never, we have a plan at every position. Percentages, how we want it to play out. Does it always play out exactly that way? No, because the game has something to say with that. We had 44 defendable reps Saturday. That's very, very low. Like, that's not normal. You don't go into a game thinking you're going to have that. So, again, the game will make you change the plan a little bit, adapt it, but we have a plan, and then our coaches do a very good job of executing it. Coach Shaw has a good feel. Some guys just have a feel who's hot, who's not, when to get them in, when to get them out. So I rely a great deal on him to do that.
Norfolk State has used two quarterbacks in their past two games. What's the preparation look like for you as a coach, having to possibly face two different quarterbacks, two different looks?
Yeah, it's definitely an added job, right? Because they're different quarterbacks too, I would say. I think number 4 really throws. He comes in both games and throws the ball very well, distributes the ball very well, seems very calm under pressure. 7 can throw it as well, but he's a much more of a runner, more athletic. They do some different things with those guys in the game. So overall, Norfolk State does a lot of football. And what do I mean by that? They have a lot of offensive scheme. They have a lot of defensive scheme, and they do some things in the kicking game. Coach Woodbury was at Howard last year. So we faced him. Coach Shepard, who's the offensive coordinator, was out at Minnesota with PJ. So he knows our defense and our style of play very, very well. And he's a very experienced coach. And then Coach Garvin, you look at what they're doing on defense, and we have our hands full with schematically the different types of blitzes they do and the coverages they do. So, there's certainly a lot to work on here. Today's our big game planning day, and we've had a lot of back and forth already, and it's just after lunchtime. So there's a lot of challenges that are being presented, and we'll work through it, and we'll have a good plan by the end of tonight. But it's taken some time.
When you look at the way that Strong and Duff are in the process of developing, is there anything that kind of mirrors or brings back memories of some of those great receivers you had, here your first time around?
Yes and no. I think when you're able to throw the ball around, that it reminds me of that, right? Like when you have confidence that you call a pass play and you think you're going to hit it. That feels good. That reminds me of it. But these players are so different, and I'm so different, right? I mean, how many years ago was that? So it is different stages in all of our careers. But yeah, to be able to throw the ball effectively, certainly I enjoy that.
Athan's completion percentage is up significantly from last year. It's only 2 games, but is that him? You see improvement from him? Is that the weapons around him also getting better? Is it protection better? Just is there one thing that you can point to and say that's why he's completing so many more of his passes?
Well, it's definitely he's improved. There's no doubt about that. But that we saw in the back half of last season. He's continuing to improve. But I think the receivers have gotten better. I think the tight ends have gotten better. I think the line is really improving. So yeah, I think it's overall the offense again. Athan being in his second year in the offense, and really, if you think about it, it's kind of like his third year because he had Kirk at Minnesota for a year. So, yeah, I think everything has gotten a little bit better, and when you add it up, it makes it considerably better.
Thursday will be 24 years since September 11th, and I know you've talked about that day in the past, but I'm just curious, Coach. Back then, you kind of had to take a little bit of a break from football to focus on other things. Now, maybe you have to educate the guys a little bit on what happened. How important is that still, almost a quarter of a century later?
Yeah, it's still real important, right? 37 Rutgers alums lost that day. I mean, personally, a guy I grew up with 2 doors down lost that day. A lot of us all lost people that are from this area. And also what it did in changing the world. Like think about how much that changed things, right? And you really get a sense of how vulnerable you are. And again, it's just to me a great gratitude to the people who serve our country and protect us, right? I think, I will educate the team. I do every year because most of these kids, if not all of them, weren't born yet. So to them, it's just something they read in the history books. But I think being located where we are, I always tell the story. We stood on the practice fields and you could see the smoke on the horizon, and we knew we weren't playing a game, but our players just wanted to go out to get their mind onto something else. Yeah, it definitely hits home. And then a couple years ago, when we were at the Pinstripe Bowl, one of the events that they did, they took us down to the site, and then we went on a tour. And I think now a lot of the guys, having gone through that, really understand it much better. But again, half the team wasn't with us then, so maybe more than half the team. So yeah, I'll definitely educate. But that's really everything. We try to talk about things in this room as a team, not only about football, but what's going on in their world, what's going on in the world. Because the thing that can't get lost is we're educating young men to hopefully become the kind of grown men that we want in our society. So we take that real seriously. I take that real seriously in dealing with our football team. So football is a great opportunity to educate young people in a lot of ways, not just in competition and winning and all those things. But look forward to, getting back out there Saturday. It seemed like a blink and we were playing our second game. I'm sure it'll seem that way playing our third game. And, we're getting better. We just got to keep focusing on the one thing we can control, and that's the here and now. There's a lot of things we can't control, but we can control what we do now, and that's what our team's focused on. So thanks again, guys.
All right, so about the same length as a normal game week presser. Obviously, September 11th is coming up on Thursday, I believe, so there's always an emphasis on kind of discussing what that means for the local community and for the Rutgers community. And Schiano's kind of talked about that tons of times over the years. But in terms of football stuff, guys, I guess, Rich, I'll let you start. What was one thing that stood out to you that Schiano said about maybe either the game plan this week or specific players, something that stuck out to you?
I think first things first, and I'm going to start off with what his press conference started off with. I feel like the Dante Chin reaction from him kind of was very telling that Dante Chin, even if it's not season ending, is probably pretty long term. He just had like kind of like a grimace when answering the question. I know he doesn't have all the data yet from like the medical team and stuff like that, but if it is torn, you can probably figure it out relatively quickly, because someone in our chat said it during the live show. And for those of you that didn't tune in, it was an ACL test on the field to see if it like was popped or not, or torn or not. So I do think it was very telling that he's already mentioning backup names, like several backup names, not just like I say, a Tyler Needham coming in, but also Justin Cesaire and Mashugiwa. And I know they're very high on Mashugiwa. Like I've heard from people that they think he could be a multi-year starter down the line. But it's just, you don't want to see these guys out there just because they just keep taking hits along that offensive line. So I'm just not really optimistic. Maybe I'm looking at this as like a glass half full thing, but I don't know. The way he answered it just made me question it a little bit.
How about you, Alec? What's something that stood out to you that he said?
Yeah, definitely that. And then also just like a lot of again, he answered some questions about the defense, how once again, still like a work in progress, things like that. So yeah, a lot of the similar stuff that we've heard throughout the season. Like Richie said, I thought it was interesting that he mentioned, Mashoud Giwa and Justin Cesaire as guys potentially that could come into play. Because, I mean, it looks like, at least from the stretches during the warm-ups before the games, that Cesaire is working as the number 2 right tackle right now. So, in an emergency situation, we could see him come in. And then also that they were good, that Needham was going to play anyways, which we saw on a couple drives. I also thought it was interesting that he was working, rotating with Taj White at right tackle as well. So it's just kind of preparing everyone both for any kind of situation that they need. And then obviously the defense as well, just the fact that it's still, again, a work in progress, talking about that. And then, yeah, just the improvement that Athan's had throughout the season. I thought it was interesting you mentioned that Athan got a lot better, and then everything else is just kind of coming together as well. So, yeah, pretty, I guess, nothing out of the ordinary aside from the Dante Chin injury semi-update.
Yeah, and he keeps going back to the practice reps is kind of where you get better, and the defense in general hasn't had much time together as a unit practicing. And the offense, you mentioned Athan's in year 2 here, but he's really more like in year 3 in the system because he had 1 full year with Kirk Soraka at Minnesota. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that the offense looks significantly better, because think of all the guys that they've had now for at least 2 years that are starters there or have played significant snaps versus the defense. We had 7, or if not 8 new starters on the defense to start the year, and most of them were transfers. So the other thing I thought was interesting and felt kind of like a throwaway thing, but I don't know. Greg had mentioned that he'll ask guys questions on the defense, and they're not coming back with answers very quickly or whatnot. So that to me tells me that there's a collective kind of not understanding of where things are supposed to be going on defense, or where you're supposed to be at in certain situations. It's clearly like a mental thing, which is what we've kind of been talking about, where guys are not in the right positions. Greg took responsibility in the post-game presser last week for one of the gaffes. But if you don't really have the answers as to what you should be doing in scenario X and Y, you play slower in general. So we've seen like a collective lack of team speed, because if you can't just go right from seeing to, muscle memory as to what you're supposed to be doing, if you have to kind of think even for that split second, it's going to make you look a lot slower than you actually might be in terms of your physical attributes. So once we can get those guys in that kind of second nature type situation in the defense, I think we'll play faster, because we've talked about the lack of team speed. But I thought that was pretty telling that you brought that up in the presser.
Hand in hand with that, he said, word for word, if we stay healthy, I think we will be playing pretty good defense this year. I don't think people realize, even though those guys are out there, and I said this last pod too, Bradley Weaver, for example, he was banged up in camp. He's good now, or not 100%, but he needs to work his way back. And it's not just him, Abram Wright, who they expected to be a significant contributor. You saw him and he looks pretty good. He needs to work his way back. That's his first snaps of the year entirely, for the most part. Because he wasn't, did he do stuff in scrimmages? I think he did stuff in the one scrimmage, but Yeah, but like these guys overall just have to get healthier, and it's on the interior too. Like a Dengoe, like he's starting to work his way back. There's just a lot of guys that were banged up or sick or whatever throughout camp that just need to work their way back. And in an ideal world, once they're all 100%, it's hard to get 100% during the season, but once they are 100%, maybe this defense turns it around a little bit. But again, they played better this week, so
They did play better, and they started off, like we talked about, for the most part, better than we did against Ohio. Forced a couple 3-and-outs early on in the game. The game wasn't really in question at any point. Rutgers took a 7-0 lead, and they tied it up, but there was no point in which that I was afraid that they were going to lose, but they certainly didn't pull away until the fourth quarter. Is there anything else Greg said during the presser today, guys, that you wanted to touch on before we start with some other topics?
Not so much what Greg said, but Chris Eisman asked an interesting question about comparing like Strong and Duff's development to like the years of wide receiver groups of the past. And I was thinking in my head, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, like Sanu, safety, turns into a stud wide receiver. Ian Strong, safety, turns into a stud wide receiver. It's like, maybe, hear me out, team struggling at safety, you keep one at safety. But I thought he could have went a little more in depth with that. I feel like you really could have went like, okay, yeah, I did this with Kenny Britt, and I did this with Sanu, and now I'm doing this with Strong. What's the common denominator? This. They all have those athletic attributes or something. That's the only thing. Like, I just wish he went more in depth with that. That was pretty much my only takeaway from that.
Yeah, that would have been nice to go into it deeper, but he's only got 10 minutes a week to do this kind of stuff, and kind of prioritizes it.
One other thing that would have been cool, maybe talk about, Dave Brock and his work, because he was only at Rutgers in 2012 when he was the wide receivers coach and the offensive coordinator. But they had Sanu that year. They had a few really good wide receivers in 2012, I believe. Maybe I'm mixing up my years, but 2012, that was one of the better years. They almost competed. They basically had a Big East title within their grasp. So I maybe see what he did with that group. Granted, he wasn't the coach that year, but what he saw from Dave Brock in terms of how he coaches and things like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here.
All right, let's go around the Big Ten and talk about what happened this past weekend. A few teams continued to look better than expected, and a few teams continued to look worse than expected if we're talking about what we thought they would be coming into the season. So in week 2, I'd say the team that kind of disappointed the most to me was once again Iowa in terms of our future opponents, rather. Iowa lost a tightly contested game against their in-state rival of Iowa State. Iowa State was up at one point 13-3, so you got to give them credit for mounting a comeback there, but they continued to look totally inept in the passing game. Mark Gronowski went 13 of 24 for 83 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. He had 16 carries on the ground and for 37 yards and a rushing touchdown, but I think he was sacked. He's only sacked 3 times, so I really wish that they wouldn't include sack yardage and rushing in college, but it is what it is. This is definitely a game that I think Rutgers should win now. Obviously, we haven't had a ton of success against Iowa. This is going to be a Friday night game. Rutgers' offense will be the best offense that Iowa played all year. I think we have to kind of reset our expectations of, we don't have to worry about stopping teams every drive like we used to and having to play these grinded out games. We just have to score more times than the opponent. And I think Greg has done a good job of making sure that they have the ball last the season so far. And if we could just have the ball at the end and control the final phase of the game like we have been recently, I think this is a game that Rutgers should win. Did either of you guys catch any of the Iowa game this past weekend?
That is on the docket for this week for me to see if I could watch that game.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I was walking throughout the parking lot for most of that.
But also the box score is very ugly.
Yeah, I was watching it. the first half of it was, good weather-wise, but the second half I watched mostly in my car as it was downpouring. But what else do you guys want to hit on in terms of around the Big Ten?
You, me?
I had a point that I wanted to touch on, but let's see, which one was it?
If you got a point, shoot it out there, Alec.
So during our preseason bonanza that we had with Aaron Brightman, Larry Kay, and David Anderson, the question was posed of the big three opponents, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. The question was which one would be the most likely that Rutgers could beat. I said Oregon because I think there would have been the most variance, at least at that point in the preseason, the most variance between whether or not they're good because of their quarterback. I'm beginning to think I should probably walk that one back now based on what they just did to Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
They put the beatdown of all beatdowns. They had, like 470 yards in the first half?
It was crazy. And I think Dan Lanning felt a little bit of motivation to just beat the ever-loving shit out of Oklahoma State for going to the media ahead of the game saying Oklahoma State shouldn't be playing teams that, have this much more to spend on their roster, blah, blah, blah. I just got to say, they didn't have any problem spending T. Boone Pickens money when he was alive. And now that, they don't have that same, sugar daddy, they're going to whine about playing one of the better teams. Mike Gundy, you were the one who approved playing this team. Maybe you didn't have the final say, but you're the head coach there. I guarantee you Greg Schiano would not play an out-of-conference game in Oregon if he had the option. So,
Greg Schiano won't play an out-of-conference game out of the MAC or G5.
Yeah, probably not, but
he did it last year. Give him credit.
Yeah, huge beatdown. That's going to be a tough game on homecoming.
Also, this is one that doesn't really affect it doesn't really affect Rutgers all that much. UCLA legitimately might win one or two games this year.
Yeah,
they
lost
spending
at
money.
UNLV.
Yeah, they got smoked by UNLV in the first half, and they actually mounted a pretty solid comeback. And then Nico Yamaliava threw an interception in the final drive of the game to end the game. So, I think of any other big things from teams on Rutgers' schedule. Minnesota had a bounce back performance. Granted, they played Northwestern State, one of the worst FCS teams, and it was completely over from the start.
In the Midwest.
Yeah, no, that team
bizarre.
is in Louisiana. Yeah, that was a little interesting.
That game, they were up 56-0 with 6 minutes left in the second quarter. It was a drubbing.
Yeah, and then they didn't even play the last 6 minutes of the game because I think some storms ended up hitting them.
That was
so
because they
called
surrendered.
No, they killed.
Oh,
they
really?
Killed them.
I thought that was because
I've
of
never seen
weather.
this before. They surrendered the game.
I thought that was because of weather. Oh my goodness!
No,
Wow,
they surrendered.
Absolutely insane.
this is one that is on Rutgers' schedule, but Illinois went on the road and put the beat down on Duke, particularly in the second half. I thought Duke was going to win that game.
So that game I watched a lot of as well. That was a closer than box score would indicate type game. Like that was like a one-score game in the fourth quarter. Illinois
I thought Rutgers was. I mean, not Rutgers. I thought Duke was going to win outright. So maybe Illinois. I still don't think they're 11th in the country good, but they're still pretty formidable.
Altmaier's basically a better version of Athan at this point. Like he's just very consistent. He's very good. He's done it for multiple years, and Bielema's just a good coach.
This is why they lost 5-0 in the turnover margin. And almost all of those turnovers directly led to points. If you look at the game cast, they just scored. What's this in the third quarter? So they got 1-2. They were outscored 31-7 in the second half.
23,000 people. What the hell?
Yeah, that was
wow.
Not a full
no one
stadium
show
by
up.
any means.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to make any big takeaways on the teams on Rutgers' schedule this week because they all played like cupcake games. Like Barron looked fine against Northern Illinois.
Oh, I don't know if we'll call that fine.
They're okay team. Whatever.
It was 13-9 going into the fourth against Northern Illinois.
I guess.
Who's not
like Penn State?
Who's not Miami, Ohio, or Ohio?
Yeah, like Penn State beat up on FIU after a bit of a slow start. We already talked about what Oregon did, and Illinois. Like Iowa, we talked about them already. Minnesota. There's not a lot of takeaways from Rutgers' opponents this week because they all played kind of trash cans.
So, Alec, you've already capitulated that you wouldn't say if Rutgers was to beat one of the big three, it'd be Oregon. Who would you say would be that win now?
I really don't know. I guess I would default and say maybe Penn State because Ohio State still looks very good. I just don't think in terms of the athleticism and the physicality combination that they have on their team, not just on offense, but on defense, like their secondary is absolutely unbelievable. I guess maybe Penn State because I guess that's maybe the closest in style. But even then, Penn State has a lot of talent. So I would probably say Penn State.
I said Penn State to start. I'm going to stick with Penn State. I think that game might be meaningless for them at some point. Meaningless from the sense that they've had a disappointing year and they're 8-3 going into that game, or disappointing in the sense that they're 10-1 and they've already locked up a Big Ten title game appearance. So we're going to rest our guys and whatever. Rich, what was your answer in the preseason about the Big Three potential winner?
It was Oregon. No, it was Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably switch to might switch to Ohio State. I just that Oregon offense is just insane, and I know Ohio State put up more points than them technically this week.
That was like Grambling, though.
Yeah, that's the only thing, and I do think they've had an opportunity against Ohio State, and you're very adamant about this a couple years ago. And if Athan was the quarterback, I'm sure you would agree with this. They probably would have won that game.
I think if you take the 2025 offense and put it onto the 2023 defense, we'd win that game. What do you think the record would be with the 2023 defense, 2025 offense?
Which schedule are we working with?
We're working
like this year's schedule or the 2023 schedule?
No, just imagine we get transplanted. We take this offense back in time and go to the 2023 schedule.
Let's see. I think they do beat Ohio State, at least in that particular matchup. They went 6-6. It's tough. That might be. I don't know.
They probably beat Wisconsin.
They probably do beat Wisconsin. Actually, yeah, that's a good one. That's 8-4.
Hold up, I'll get the schedule up. I don't know. I'm being dumb here.
I'd say they probably beat Maryland at the end of the year.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think Maryland's like good ever.
But they got smoked by that Maryland team. So
all right. So Michigan won the title that year. This game was closer than I think we remember it because
it was. Yeah, everything turned on that pick six on the fourth down screen.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we probably still lose that game. Let's just call that one a loss.
Yeah, I don't think they win, but I think it's considerably closer.
I think they win at Wisconsin that year. Again, we were about to score. It was like first and goal from like the 2. We throw a pick six before half. I think we win against Ohio State. We've already kind of talked about that. Iowa, we just couldn't move the ball at all. I think this game was a one-score game in the fourth quarter. That's the one thing about this year. Every single one of these games outside of like one was a one-score game in the fourth quarter. And I think that was against Michigan.
Question. Do I have Monungai?
No.
No, you don't. You have the 2025 offense.
2025 offense. Okay.
Yeah, 2025 offense on the 2023 team. I think we're looking at potentially like a 10-2 team.
Now, here's an interesting proposition. Are there any wins that you think would turn into losses with this offense, with the 25 offense?
New head coach at Northwestern, Temple.
Because my eyes on the Michigan State game, the way that went down, do we think, A, do they get down by 18 points to begin with the 2025 offense? And B, if they were to go down by 18 points, would they still come back?
I mean, they were winning games with less than 50 yards.
Well, yeah, but I'm just being
not even
enriching
triple
the
that.
mind.
We're talking like quadruple and then some.
I'm just enriching the mind. Like, are there any wins that would turn to losses if you put the 25 offense on this team?
I say no personally.
I don't think so. But I like that you're going through the full thought process of not just one side but the other. I think we probably see a plus 3 or 4 change in the win column, which is
these stats are just disgusting.
Yeah, 39 yards passing against Indiana. That game was won on the ground, definitely.
It's not a knock on Christian Dremel, but Christian Dremel led the team in receiving for 5 games. Like, insane. Crazy. Anyway.
Let's pivot to another topic having to do with the offense, but I put a thread out there, and I'll kind of let you guys tell me what you think about Athan's start to the season and where that could maybe place him in terms of historic seasons for a passer. Right now, Athan's 44 of 59. That's almost a 75% completion percentage, 511 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the year, which is a 13-game pace of 3,322 yards and 39 touchdowns. I don't think he keeps this pace up as the competition gets tougher, but how many of these records do you guys think he would break this season? And I'm gonna hold you to these predictions. We could just shoot them out there. It's whatever. It's supposed to be fun. Put your guesses in the comments below as well. So there's 5 major categories that I wanted to discuss. The first is the single season touchdown record. Like I said, he's on pace for 39 right now. The touchdown record is set by Mike Teal in the 2008 season at 25. So in order for him to tie this record right now, he would need to average 1.7 touchdowns a game for the rest of the season. Let's go on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of these. What do you think the likelihood, assuming health, is that he breaks the single season touchdown record in 2025? Rich, I'll start with you.
What am I doing? 1 through 10, you said?
Yeah, 10 being the highest level of confidence, 1 being the lowest.
Say an 8. I'm pretty confident that he's going to break that record, to be honest. I think he'll probably put up at least, 2, 3 more this week, if not more than that, because Norfolk State is just not good.
That's a good point. It depends how much if he plays the whole game and he's able to get 5 touchdowns or something like that, that definitely could set him up for success for breaking this record later in the year.
This is probably the most confident out of all the records. I'm in. I say 8 or 9. I'll even go 9. I'll say 9 because I'm very confident that they're going to throw the ball a lot this year.
Alec, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go same thing. I'm going with 8 or 9. I mean, are we going to see any stat padding this weekend? I think he will break it, just not only because of the pace that he's on, but because this offense is probably going to have to pass the ball a lot more as the season goes along in Big Ten play because they're not going to be able to really shut down the game, just kill clock, hold the ball, run the ball, as often as they did in these first 2 games.
Make Alec go first next time because he keeps copying me on everything.
Yeah, maybe I'll have an original thought of my own this time.
That was my thought. I'm going to group these next 2 into the same question because they're, one hand kind of washes the other on this. So the single season completion record for the number of completions was set by Ryan Hart in 2004. It was 295, and he also set the attempts record that year with 453. The crazy thing about this is he did it in 11 games. So this is before college football expanded to the 12-game schedule, and also Rutgers didn't make a bowl that year. So Alec, what's your confidence level that Athan can break this record? He's on pace, like I said above, for 286 completions on 384 pass attempts.
I'm going to say no for both of them. I'm going to kind of contradict myself here, but I don't think he's going
to... confidence level here, 1 to 10.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with a 4 because I don't think they're going to pass the ball as much, even though I kind of just said they're going to pass the ball more. I think they're still going to try to be a control the game team in second halves of games of the Big Ten schedule. I think they're going to try to run the ball a lot more. I'm going to say no for these. But also, that is an insane number. Let's check the averages. So he completed an average of 26 passes per game. And then, 453 divided by 11. He threw 41 passes a game. That's all nuts. Yeah, I don't think Athan's going to be doing that. Even in the 12 or maybe 13 games, I don't think he's going to be doing that.
How about you, Rich?
No, I don't think he hits this at all. I'm going to go with a 2 out of 10. I just don't think he throws that much. That was on 65% completion percentage for Ryan Hart too. Like that's a pretty high completion percentage for throwing that many passes. Like,
well, you're alluding to one of the categories later. That was actually a program record. So,
I didn't even see that one. Oh, yep, missed that completely. But yeah, no, I just don't see him doing that. Like, I looked at the rushing numbers too, so I kind of cheated a little bit. But like, it's significant difference from what they usually do, or what they've done in Kirk Shiraka, the 2.0 era. So I don't think he hits this. I'm going to say 2 out of 10.
I didn't say my first one, but I think I'm at a 9 out of 10 from the break the touchdown record. I'm going to say a 3 out of 10 on these two numbers. I think it's more likely he breaks the completion record than the attempts record, just based on if he breaks the completion record, is because he's able to keep up this completion percentage rate, at least somewhat. Let's talk about the yardage next. Rich, I'll let you go first on this one. He's currently at 511. The single season yardage record was set by Mike Teal in 2008, 34-18. In order for Athan to break this record, he would need to average 265 yards passing per game over the next 11 games, assuming he plays in the bowl game. What's your confidence level that he could break the passing yardage record for a single season?
I'm going to say 3 out of 10. I'm going to keep it low still, because there's going to be a situation where the passing game is just not working and they're going to run the ball down, insert middling Big Ten team here's throat. They're going to have moments like that. I just also don't think he's going to keep it up. These are, mind you, it's Miami, Ohio, it's Ohio, and it's going to be Norfolk State after this. I just don't think you can keep that up in Big Ten play, where there's a significant difference in defenses. Now, there's some crappy programs out there. Like, I wouldn't shock me if you put up some crazy gaudy numbers against Purdue, against even Maryland. I just don't know if you're going to be able to do that against like the Ohio States of the world, who just held Arch Manning in Texas, who's one of the best offenses in the country, to 7 points like 2 weeks ago. Is Penn State's got a good defense? Are they going to be able, who I don't think has given up a touchdown yet? Are they going to be able to throw on them? Like, I just don't know if that's really going to be able to happen. So I'm not very confident in this one.
All right, Alec, what's your confidence level?
I'm going to say it's about a 4. I think, kind of like Richie said, I don't think he's going to keep up all this production. I think he's going to hover around like the 250, 260 per game mark. And then there's going to be a game where he throws for like 190 or something, probably against like an Ohio State or something like that. Or maybe like in a game where they try to control the clock a little bit more, like Richie mentioned. So I think it's going to be, I think he's going to fall short, because I think there's going to be one game where it's just not working out. Like I said, Ohio State secondary is absolutely crazy. So if there's any secondary built to withstand the pressure that these two wide receivers on the outside and DT Sheffield in the slot can put on you, I think it's Ohio State with their physicality and their athleticism. So I'm going to go with about a 4. I mean, I could see it if he explodes. Let's say, maybe against like Oregon or Washington or something, that turns into a real shootout and he throws for like, I don't know, almost like 400 or something like that. That could even it out if he does have his game where he throws under 200, but I'm not overly confident.
Yeah, I think it's kind of along the lines of what I was thinking. He's going to need probably 2 games where he gets 400 plus yards in order to break this record. And his career high passing is 313 yards in a game. So I don't think he's got and obviously this has been a great start to the year, but the yardage numbers aren't super gaudy, like we've kind of pointed out. Actually, he threw for 319 yards against Wisconsin in his final regular season game of his redshirt freshman year. I just don't see it. I'm going to give my confidence level at a 3, not totally outside of the bounds of possibility. I just don't think it'll happen. Now, here I think is where we'll see the most debate, I guess. The single season completion percentage record for a minimum of 100 attempts is set at 65.1%, and that was set in Ryan Hart's 2004 season. It's crazy how all these numbers came from 2 seasons, but Athan is currently sitting at 74.5%. So roughly, in order to break the record, you would have to hover around probably 62 to 63% passing over the rest of the year. I think that's possible. I really do. I think that we've kind of talked about how Rutgers has kind of just settled for a lot of these outbreaking routes that are wide open, these slants that are wide open. Teams really haven't forced us to kind of throw the ball deep yet this year, which is, I think, what teams will try and do to us later in the year. I think we have certainly the players to complete a lot of downfield passing, but the more you pass downfield, the less naturally completions that you're going to have, but they're going to count for more in terms of like an EPA setting. So I'm going to say that my confidence is at like a 4 on this, but I could easily see it happening. Alec, what do you think?
I think my thinking's pretty much all along the same lines. I'm going to be a little bit more confident. I'll say like a 5 or a 6 because, yeah, I think he's not going to keep up the 70+% pace because they're going to be forced. There are going to be more athletic secondaries in the Big Ten. They're going to scheme up ways to take away those easy throws. And, yeah, they're going to have to throw the ball deep, and there's going to be some conversions because that's how talented this wide receiver group is. But there's also going to be a lot of incompletions, and that's where the run game comes in. So, yeah, I'm going to say around a 5 or a 6. Like, I could see it happen if they, maybe switch up a little bit of the layering of some of the play calls with the route concepts. If they get even more quick hitters, although, maybe like a lower depth of target, like, some more shallow crossers, drags, things like that. If we see that, and then also combine those with some of the deep shots, I'm going to say like a 5 or a 6. I think it's possible, but we'll have to wait and see how the downfield passing game looks because we haven't really seen it yet, aside from a few plays against Miami where, the DBs had no choice but to just kind of just grab onto anything they could and try to bring him down.
I am going to say 5 out of 10. I think it could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's a chance. We were talking about him just hitting 60% in our preseason extravaganza.
Well, the over-under for before the season was 58, and a lot of
58.
A lot of us went under.
Yeah. I think did I go over? I thought I went over.
I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm curious now. Crazy that the 2014 didn't make a bowl game, mind you. I think that was that the Chip Kelly year where they lost to Chip Kelly in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Okay,
I think it was. Yeah.
The
rough year.
New Hampshire year. Yeah.
Yeah, rough start because that would have got 5, and then who knows what happens, and you snag one somewhere else. Looking back now, actually, Navy put up 54 points on them. How? Anyway, getting off track here. 65% is just a crazy jump. It's a 10% jump from last year's completion percentage. I just don't know if he'll be able to keep that up and get there, but I do think he'll probably hit 60, if not a little bit higher, but he'll inch close to that 65. I don't think he'll get to that 65.
So
unless I said under, then I lied. Take it back.
Look at what everybody said before the season. Richie, you were the only one who said over on the completion percentage. So
big brain,
there.
baby.
But you also said under the passing touchdowns, which Alec and I both had the over, and Aaron also did as well. So,
yeah, fair enough. Mm.
So I wanted to run through some PFF stats real quick with everyone as well. Now that appreciate you sitting through our pontification there about records that might be broken. I wanted to start off with where Athan ranked on the QB rankings. He's currently the 20th ranked quarterback out of let's see how many qualifiers. 279 qualifiers. So he's in the top 10 percentile of PFF grades for quarterbacks.
See another name up there.
Yeah, very familiar name here. And Evan Simon, the highest graded FBS quarterback. There's one FCS quarterback above him. A bunch of future opponents on here too, or I see one rather. The freshman quarterback Drake Lindsey from Minnesota is graded very high.
Two.
Even the Purdue quarterback is graded high, and Ryan Brown and Damon Williams at Washington, who's another team that we didn't talk about today, but they have looked very impressive. I wanted to highlight the running back position because look at where Antoine Raymond is ranked. He is the second ranked running back, according to PFF grades. We're going to be playing Jonah Coleman, who's been fantastic as well to start this year. Kind of blew through those first two. Anything you guys wanted to touch on?
How about that pass
keep
blocking
going.
grade for Antoine Raymond?
Oh, yeah. Fantastic pass blocking
Jeez, I
grade.
saw the red one. It's like
I think that's a top 5. Yeah, he's the 5th highest graded pass blocker. He's got the 5th best rushing grade, and overall he's the 2nd rated guy. Pretty awesome so far for him. Let's take a look at the wide receivers, because we will have a couple guys close to the top here too. Ian Strong is the 23rd highest graded receiver on PFF's grades out of 749 receivers. That matches the tape, obviously. I don't know where KJ Duff or E.T. Sheffield are on this list, but I can find them. So KJ Duff is the 98th ranked receiver at a 72.7 grade. And I can just Control F this one. So DT Sheffield is not on this list, so he's a little bit lower graded.
Click the receiving grade when you get a chance, real quick, because I noticed something when
on Ian
like
Strong.
that. No, the actual receiving. Yeah, just watch, you'll see it. Top 10, I think it is. I think it's
Yeah, so he's got the 15th highest graded receiving grade.
Yeah,
on PFF.
He's been phenomenal.
I wonder if Sheffield's getting dinged for a couple of drops that he's had.
That's definitely why he's getting dinged. Small sample size, so even 2 or 3 drops can really plummet your grade.
Oh, yeah.
A few more opponents that we'll be playing. Hank Beatty is the number 1 ranked receiver right now. He is number 80 on Illinois. Armand Branch for Purdue is the number 11 graded wide receiver on PFF. Chase Hendricks, number 7, who gave us fits, is the top 25 receiver on PFF. Denzel Boston, who's getting some first round love from draft analysts, is ranked 31st. But
I saw Cam Perry, I think, from Miami. Also, he was like hovering around the 50 range.
Let's see if I could find him. Yeah, I believe I just didn't see it on scrolling past really quick. I did want to, we've talked a lot about some of the defensive woes. I want to highlight the safeties. I'm going to do a reverse sort. And sorry.
Yuck. Oh, there's 2.
Yeah, both of our starting safeties are ranked in the bottom 20 overall for safeties. So 702nd out of 719 for Jed Elad. And Kaj Sanders is ranked 704 out of 719. So
Yikes.
not where you want to be by any means. Hopefully we can get that turned around. It's kind of, in some ways, at least like what we're seeing is matching up with kind of what other people are seeing. That the safety play has been atrocious. Anything else you guys wanted to highlight PFF wise? I kind of monopolized this so far.
Let me look at the Rutgers. Oh, you can go to the team one in general. Oh, no, you can't do that on that.
I could go there though.
Yeah, I'd just be curious just to see, because I think he gets a lot of hate. I think Eric O'Neill's numbers are actually pretty decent last I checked. Could be wrong on that though, because there's not like a total rush. Yeah, he's number 2 in defense on the team. So like, I think he had a lot better game than people are giving him credit for. Like he had 6 pressures, I think it was, or 5 pressures. Like, it's just when those guys are so mobile that they've went against so far that they're able to break contain, and it's hard to actually get the sack. Yeah, 6. So yeah, he actually quietly had a solid game. Moses Walker actually graded really. Oh, that's because the first game he graded out really well.
This is the overall grade for the season.
Gotcha.
But our highest graded defenders, Jacoby Henderson shouldn't surprise. Eric O'Neill's up there. Jabril Abdul-Rahman, he only played 8 snaps, but he's our 3rd highest graded player. Bo Masco, or Masco, is how he's pronounced. Sorry about that. With the interception, his grade's way up there. Dero Jabome is ranked 5th. And then if we go down to the bottom, we see our 2 safeties. We see Cam Miller.
Sean Griffin starter, Jordan Walker starter.
Yeah. So
not great.
I don't know. that's what we got from that perspective. We'll do an abbreviated game preview later in the week, but given that it is an FCS opponent, there's really a limited amount that you can do to kind of game plan for, given it's basically like how many points are we going to win by, more so than how can we win this game.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys had to pick one or the other to close out, would you rather the first option, Rutgers plays its starters in significant minutes and tries to help Stella get her groove back, or B, would you rather Rutgers get a comfortable lead and then play the second unit, save our guys from injury, given it's going to be a short week because we have Iowa the following Friday night? Which of those two options would you guys rather see? Alec, I'll let you start.
I mean, offense, I think they should probably just like kind of take it a little easy just to because that unit's already clicking. I think it's telling that Greg Schiano has mentioned that this defense just kind of needs more reps. They haven't seen enough reps as a unit so far. So I think I would maybe rather see them kind of be on the field a little bit longer, get their confidence up against, granted, they're playing against two different quarterbacks. They might play against two different quarterbacks, so that could also be something to look out for. But I think for the defense, at least, I would rather see the defense try to get its confidence back.
This is a tough one. I kind of agree with you for the most part. I just think that Greg Schiano is going to try to basically do what he did against, Ohio, where they had 3 possessions in the second half. I think he's going to try to do that all game and basically just like get in, get out, everyone's healthy. Now, in terms of playing the bench guys more, I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll be very cautious with that because, number one, you'll probably create controversy because, God forbid, like Chris Joins comes in and he gets like a pick 6 in like the fourth quarter when no one's really paying attention and they're just chucking the ball for shits and giggles. Everyone's gonna be like, why is he not starting? Greg's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Or it's not Greg, it's actually Rob Smith. And it's like, no, like if the players were better, they'd be playing at this point. But I think you have to play the defense a little bit more and try to get those guys. I don't think they'll get, knock on wood, obviously. I don't think they get banged up, especially going against a team that's so much smaller than them. Like the second leading rusher for Norfolk State is 5'6". Like if anything, those guys are going to get banged up. So I think they want to get out of there healthy just as much as the other team does. And I think they kind of know what they're in for too. Like they kind of know they're coming into this one not even like going to get close to a win, let alone even competitive, to be honest with you.
I think we're going to go 3 for 3 on this, guys. I would hope that the offense gets a bit of a breather. The defense, I feel like they got to get things looking and moving in the right direction. I think the defense probably plays a lot more of the snaps than the offense does. And sometimes you just kind of need to see a ball go through the basket, and maybe they just need to have a few winning rush attempts on the defensive line. Maybe they just need to have a couple tip passes turn into interceptions on defense. They just need to see some wins to give them that confidence to move forward in the season, I feel like. So I think we'll see a lot of the defense and probably not as much of the offense.
I think, and I want to say this before I forgot about it. It is basically going to be used as like those not inter squad scrimmages. What are the those joint practices in NFL? That's what they're going to kind of use it like. And it's like, okay, see how you did this wrong against the Norfolk State guy, and he wasn't able to catch it because he just is not good. Like this is what you're supposed to do. Do this next time, and it's like, okay, then proceeds to get someone getting a pick 6 or something next time around. So you can kind of use it like that, and it's going to be like a teach tapes type moment type of day for Rutgers, I think.
Yeah, that's what always has kind of perplexed me about, obviously the NFL and college football set up very differently. You get preseason games and joint practices in the NFL, and you don't get that in college. Why, if I was running a program and I wasn't worried about, making a ton of money on that opening week, playing down in a neutral site or whatever, why not just always have your first game be against an FCS opponent so you can kind of slowly get into the season? Like, I would not want to play the MAC champion week 1, but that's just me.
The MAC runner-up week 2.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And it makes you also question why a team like Alabama is playing Mercer in mid-November.
That's always been an SEC thing, though. Like the second
Yeah,
week in November or the first week in
Yeah.
November is just always like, we got South Carolina at Wofford this week, and we got Alabama playing, the Citadel, and it's just always these like punching bags in the middle of November. Maybe that's like their pseudo bye week. I don't know.
Keep them healthy, kind of play the backups, and it's like these guys are banged up all season long. Give them a break for a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's very, very odd.
All right, guys, we've gone almost an hour, more than
I
I
have
thought
one
we'd
more
do.
thing before we signed off.
Let's hear
As
it.
like I guess like a show of optimism and a part of the defense. I do think the defensive line played a lot better. I just wanted to share a couple screenshots from all three of these screenshots that I'm going to show are from the same drive where can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Moving around the screen. So in this screenshot, Daquan Finn is somewhere over here. He ends up scrambling for a first down. In this screenshot, Daquan Finn is right here. He ends up scrambling for, I don't remember if it was exactly a first down or a couple of a bunch of extra yards. And in this screenshot, Daquan Finn is right here, and he scrambled for a first down. Now, just the main takeaway from this is I think the defensive line played better. Granted, it took them almost 50-something minutes to get a sack when it was Jabril Abdul-Rahman who came in and got a nice pressure. I think we saw a step forward, particularly in the run game as well. Granted, Miami is a considerably worse offensive team than both Ohio and what Rutgers is going to see in the Big Ten. But I thought the defensive line definitely played better as the game went on. That's what I was kind of focusing on when I was rewatching the game. They got pressure, and they just weren't able to convert. Now, of course, that's been a Rutgers issue for a while, is just not being able to finish these plays. But I mean, if they can get their confidence up against like a Norfolk State this weekend, and maybe they got something going against a Mark Gronowski against Iowa, if he's still rattled into the fourth game of the season, maybe they can get to him as well. So I think the defensive line is closer than we think. It's definitely the secondary that's a bit more worrying, but I think the defensive line is going to I think it's going to get better.
Yeah, I think it has looked better from week 1 to week 2, but is it a big enough jump from week 1 to week 2 to feel confident that we can not win games with our defense, but get enough stops to win games later in the season? Because I think that's kind of how we have to reframe things, is that defense is not going to win us games this year. Like, I don't care who we're playing. They are not going to win us games, but can they do enough to not, totally crap the bed for the offense? Like, the offense has shown the ability to score on almost any drive. I think that will continue to be propelled by our offense, but can the defense get those 2 or 3 stops a game that we're going to need so we can win games?
I got one more real quick thing, and this is kind of pseudo Rutgers related. You saw Fran Brown, right, in Syracuse after they won against UConn. I'm sure everyone's seen it. They were doing doing sprints or suicides on the field afterwards. Good idea, bad idea, because I feel like there's a lot of like interesting takes all over social media on it. Like some people are like, yeah, like why not teach them? Like you can't be doing that against UConn. Or bad idea, like that's so embarrassing. Like I'm going to enter the transfer portal tomorrow.
I think it's cringy as hell. I think Fran does a lot of this performative crap that like doesn't actually make you any better. These guys just got their asses kicked for 60 minutes, and you're going to have them run sprints in front of their family and friends in the stadium afterwards. I think it's a joke, honestly. But
yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same. It's what is it really going to do?
You do that at practice. You don't do that in front of fans.
Yeah, and like just a lot of the stuff Fran does and says to the media just feels so like hollow and performative. Like the whole "I don't shower after losses" thing. Like, come on, man. Like, it's just I don't know. It's just cringy. I don't have a better way to say it than that.
I forgot who said it. Someone said if you watch his press conferences, he tries to be like Schiano, but then when he comes to that stuff, it's like he's trying to be like Dion. Like he tries to be like out there as much as possible, it seems like.
Yeah.
But anyway, kind of off topic. Just curious.
Yeah, no, it's I think his antics are embarrassing, but I'd feel the same way if he was our coach.
True.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We will have a game preview later in the week. I don't think we're going to have a beat writer covering Norfolk State. We're going to try and continue to get a special guest. I don't think it's going to happen. But if not, we'll do our game preview like we do most FCS teams. And then we'll do a live show after the game once again, like usual. But that's kind of all we got for you this week. I want to thank you once again for listening. Thanks to everybody who's rated and reviewed, subscribed to the channel, followed us on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps the show grow. And it's really been beneficial for you guys to help us out there. So we want to thank you once again. But for me, Alec, and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast, signing off.